Hey, welcome back to Cherry Bepsi. My name is Mandeep if you can't pronounce it. And before I begin, I just want to clarify that even though I'm making this video titled what it is, I don't know what it's titled yet. I'm sure it'll be something really funny and cool. But before you try and comment mean things about how I'm a fake fan and how I just want to hate on girls because I hate women, I want you to take a second, take a look at this. Oh my God, hold on. So maybe rethink that comment about how I hate women and everything that women like. That reveal was supposed to be me wearing my Twilight shirt that I bought from Hot Topic in middle school, but I can't find it. So I guess I must have given it away during my, backlash to Twilight phase. But this is me telling you, I definitely had a very strong Twilight phase, as in like I had a t-shirt for every single movie release. I watched every single movie in theaters. I didn't actually own the books, but that was only because I was in such a Twilight saturated environment that I didn't need to. Everyone around me always owned the books. But I do want to also say that I got into it before it was popular, okay? Or at least before I knew it was popular, because I remember I was at the library, the student library in middle school, and my friend was like, oh yeah, my sister really likes that book. And I was like, what book? And it's like the book with two hands and an apple on the cover. And she was like, yeah, it's about like a vampire or something. I was like, say no more, because I was already into vampires. So all of that to say, I read the first book, I was obsessed. I read the whole series, and it was like halfway through the series that I realized that this was like a popular series. So I probably, if I had known it was popular, I personally probably wouldn't even have given it the time of day, because that's just the type of person I was. I know I was really annoying, and I still am, but that's okay. Anyway, so yeah, that's all this to say. Twilight still sucks, bro. Like, I, as a person who loved Twilight, can recognize that it's bad, and I recognized it was bad back then too, but I feel like there's like this weird narrative going around now that the only reason people hated on that book was because girls liked it. And it's like, listen, I love girls, I love women, feminism, but sometimes girls are stupid. No, I'm just kidding. But that's not the only reason people hated Twilight, okay? It's just not a good book. It's not a good series. It's bad, objectively. And while I could have done a whole analysis breakdown of like why the Twilight movies are still bad, I think it'd be more fun and effective for me to just make a simple bullet list of the many reasons I hate Twilight and why you should hate it too. First up, the casting. I remember this from my personal experience being at the front lines of being a twihard. I never actually called myself that, but that was the term for my people, I remember I had heard that there was a movie being made, and they announced the casting decisions, and I looked them up, and I was super disappointed because for some reason, I think this is around the time that I also got into anime, and I always pictured Edward as like the dark, brooding, kind of like shoulder length long hair. You know what I'm talking about. If you watch anime, you know the type of pretty boy, bad boy I'm talking about. That's what I was picturing Edward as. And Robert Pattinson was simply not it. Not only was his face just like not what I imagined, because he does kind of look like he does kind of have a head that's kind of shaped like a shovel, and I mean that with love. I love Robert Pattinson. He also kind of looks like someone smashed his face in with a shovel. Again, all love. I actually love that in a man. I love when he looks like he's been hit in the face a few times. Kristen Stewart, even in the picture, you could see like, it's not extensions, but like those types of extensions that people put where it's like the ring, like an elastic ring of hair, and you just attach it to the back of your head. You could see that, and you can also see it in most of the shots of the movie, but I was just like, what is this? And like, she also wasn't what I was imagining Bella as, because there was like this part in the book where I'm sure a lot of other Twilight people have pointed it out before, but it's like, her hair was supposed to be really dark brown to the point that it looked red in the sun, which honestly I feel like was just Stephanie Meyer trying to not like other girls Bella. But again, brunette oppression is real, and I was definitely a proponent of that. You may not be able to tell in this lighting, but I am a very dirty blonde, so I'm sorry to my brunette sisters out there. I can't stand with you, but I respect you and I see your struggles. And what am I talking about? Okay, yeah, so casting, whatever. I remember a lot of people were, I know this just goes to show that I was always such a good person and that I'm always gonna be correct, but I remember people were so upset about Rosalie's casting because Rosalie's supposed to be like the prettiest vampire in the world, and everybody's like, oh my god, Nikki Reed is like not pretty enough to be Rosalie. But I was like, I think she's fine. Well, that's another thing though. Even back then I was like, I don't know, I feel like all white people kind of look like that to me. So I was kind of confused, especially with like the backlash to Rosalie, because everyone was like, oh, she's not pretty enough to be whatever, it should be this girl. And I'm like, they look the same. Like, I don't, because like I'd gone through my whole life with people telling me white people that I thought were ugly looked hot and pretty. So it was so confusing to me that I came across a white person who people thought wasn't pretty or hot, and I was like, they look the same as the other white people that y'all were hyping up before. But okay, you know, reverse racism, we love to see it. Right? But anyway, justice for Nikki Reed, poor girl. I don't actually know what she's doing or if she's done anything problematic. If she has, let me know. But, you know, justice for Nikki Reed. She didn't deserve all that hatred. Carlisle, why was Peter Fasinelli so hot? For what? Also, I have beef with the actor because I thought the actor himself was British for the longest time because of the way he delivers his lines in the movies. It's like so weird. I think it's probably supposed to be his like attempt at like an old-timey vampire affect where it's like, oh, you know, he's been alive for so long, he just speaks differently, you know, like a transatlantic accent or something. I thought he was British and he was just like fighting off a British accent the whole time, and it's so distracting the whole time. But he doesn't have one. He's American. So Taylor Lautner, did y'all know he was white? He's just a dark white. Like, he's just a very tan, spicy white. The one thing that I had whenever I was defending Twilight in my middle school years was, well, at least they cast all Indigenous actors to play the Cullens, but they didn't. They cast everybody else to be Indigenous, except for the main guy, Jacob, who he was just white. And that's another thing. Let's actually just talk about the after effects of Twilight and how like all the actors kind of went on to do nothing except for Robert Pattinson and Kristen Stewart. Because I literally remember me and my friends were obsessed with Taylor Lautner to the point that we went to theaters to watch the movie that he did after he did Twilight. It was called Abduction. And literally all of the goodwill that he had built up with like the Twilight fangirls, the Team Jacob girls, me, was gone after that one viewing because it was so bad. Like, it was such a bad movie. I was like, and it really broke the whole spell he had on me. And I was like, you know what? I think I'm gonna move on. I think this chapter of my life is over. Yeah, he's not a good actor. And like the fact that you watch the movies again, because I do rewatch the movies constantly. Unfortunately, I just have a very nostalgic attachment to them. So this is just who I am now, but he's such a bad actor. It's like noticeable. And like there's a thing that you'll notice, he's always standing in italics. Like, I don't know how else to describe it. He's always just kind of like, Bella. Also going into the casting, I know I'm taking a really long time talking about the casting, but that's just how it is. Why did Kristen Stewart have a chemistry with literally every other actor in that movie series aside from Robert Pattinson? Like, they were literally dating at the time. Why did they not have chemistry? I guess because she was, you know, actually a lesbian. But still, like, even though she was a lesbian, there's like this scene that I vividly remember in New Moon where like Carlisle is packaging her up. No, that's not the right word. Patching her up. My bad. Carlisle is patching her up. And there's like this weird energy. There's like this weird tension between them. And I'm like,
brings me happiness. Even if I am damned regardless.
Damned. Like hell.
Imagine the situation in reverse.
Why does Bella have tension with Edward's dad right now? And more importantly, why does she have more tension with Edward's dad than she does with Edward? Same with Edward and Jacob. Like, I was never a Jedward shipper, not back then. I was never really a Jedward truther back then. More recently, I've come to see the light, you know. It's the light being that Bella was always a closeted lesbian and Edward was always a repressed gay. And he was just like always secretly in love with Jacob. Because like Robert Pattinson and Taylor Lautner did have a substantial amount of chemistry together. Like there's just no explaining it. That animosity, that hatred. They want to know one another carnally. They want to explore their bodies with each other. But yeah, I feel like that was always an issue for me. I was just like, Bella and Edward would be on screen together and I'm like, I'm sorry, like I feel nothing. I feel like I'm holding two clammy fish in my hands. I think there was more tension and chemistry between my Bratz dolls that I would act out homosexual scenes with than with Kristen and Robert. Clothing, I feel like this is probably a me problem because I bring it up all the time whenever I'm rewatching Twilight with my friends and they're always like, it's not that bad, you're overreacting. And I'm like, okay, well, I guess you do have to take into account the fact that the fashion in the early 2010s was just like really bad in general. But because like you see what Alice is wearing, that was like the standard uniform for any hot girl in like 2008. You know, like a long flowy shirt, leggings, ballet flats, a chunky necklace, quirky demeanor. Like she was the blueprint, you know? So setting aside the fact that most of Bella's wardrobe could be found on like one of those display tables at Old Navy, I actually want to focus on Robert Pattinson's looks. They did him so dirty. I'm so sorry. And this also actually ties into like the makeup discussion because they really pick and chose with each movie, like whether they were gonna make him look good or not. He did not look good in the first one. I hated how they gelled his hair up. Why did he look like a middle schooler that frequented the local skate park? Why did they give him little highlights? Keep it dark hair, okay? Why did his eyebrows look like cinder blocks? And it's like, listen, I know the vampires are supposed to be pale. I know that they're dead. But they're also supposed to be hot, okay? You can make them a little bit pale. You can make them a little dead looking. Put a little bit more shadow under their eyes, under their hollows of their cheeks. But why do they look like they've been rolling around in Bob's Red Mill or something, okay? Like, there's no reason for that. Past that, the one item of clothing that I truly despised on Robert Pattinson was the pea coat, the gray pea coat. I know pea coats really had like their moment when I was in middle school. But first of all, they're so uncomfortable. They're so scratchy. I hate them. The fact that it was a gray pea coat and that you could, something about it, it was just so ugly. He looked like a JCPenney catalog model. And then sometimes he would pop the collar. Ugh, disgusting. I'm sorry. I can't even continue talking about this. Okay, so here's another thing. This is actually a broader issue with a lot of book series that are directed at young girls that are adapted into movies. So it's a common problem with those. The first movie will be directed by a woman who actually kind of cares about the plot and cares about the story and stuff. And then after that gets super big and successful and they say, oh my God, there's a lot of money in this, they hand over the reins to like the nearest man that's just standing in the room. All the quality, the story, it all goes downhill from there. Because listen, Catherine Hardwicke, she had a vision, okay? I've read an interview where the blue tint, you know, that famous heavy blue tint that was in every single shot of the first Twilight movie, that was supposed to carry on throughout the rest of the movies until Bella becomes a vampire, and then it's supposed to switch to like full color, full saturation. And that would have been like a really effective way, I think, of like showing the difference to the audience, at least, of like how Bella had previously been living and how she has now transitioned into like a new part of her life where she's seeing things with new eyes, seeing things with new clarity and perspective, right? Because as it stands, there's actually not a lot to differentiate for the audience, like Bella's pre and post vampiric transformation in Breaking Dawn Part 2. Aside from the fact that she has red eyes and perpetually has her eye makeup done. But if Catherine Hardwicke's vision had been followed, the rest of the movies would have also had a similar blue tint. And here's another thing. I never actually hated the blue tint. I liked it. There's something about seeing the blue tint on rewatches that just gives me like this sense of peace, you know? And it's probably the nostalgia talking. Actually, I know it's the nostalgia talking and I don't care. And I wish every single movie gave me that sense of peace as Twilight did. Other thing, why was James so crusty? He doesn't even wear shoes. I don't remember the books that well, and I don't remember if James was supposed to be crusty. He probably was, because I think he's supposed to be like a nomad tracker or whatever. But like still, they couldn't have thrown us a bone, because I remember I was one of those little quirky, not like other girls where I was like, oh my god, Team James. But I can't be Team James when he looks like this. And I know the actor is not that ugly. Like, they made him look this way. For what? Because they thought we would be strayed from Robert Pattinson? That's on you. Because y'all should have had enough confidence in yourselves and the way you dressed up Robert that we wouldn't be swayed from Robert Pattinson. But you knew you messed up. And that's why you had to nerf James. You had to make him look crusty and ugly. Why does he wear a jacket with no shirt? Why doesn't he wear shoes? Why does he wear flared jeans? I guess flared jeans are kind of having a comeback moment, but they were not in at the time, so there was no excuse back then. I also hate that Twilight reminds me of coronavirus now, because Edward previously died from the Spanish flu, another pandemic, and that just reminds me of our unfair American healthcare system. And it reminds me that things really haven't changed much since the Spanish influenza, when the best form of healthcare was biting your dying patient's neck and turning him into an immortal vampire. Let's actually unpack that a little bit, because I guess this is more of a story issue, right? But why did Carlisle turn Edward in particular into a vampire and not any of the rest of his patients? I know you had that whole thing where it's like, oh my god, your mother, she looked at me and she knew, and she was like, you better save my son. So I had to do it. But I'm like, okay. But I highly doubt she was like the only mother that was like looking at you and like, you better save my son. So like, I can't believe you can just pick and choose like this. And the fact that this isn't touched upon more in the books or the movies, like, you really do have that power to save all these people, and you only save the white ones. Oh my god. Carlisle. Did he ever make a non-white person into a vampire? Wow, I really need to rethink this. Oh wow. Was Carlisle starting a new age white supremacist cult? Yeah, he was. I mean, there's not even a question. Like, the fact that Jasper was a Confederate soldier. Yeah, let's actually move on to Jasper. Why was he a Confederate soldier? Not only that, he wasn't even drafted. He volunteered. That's like a part of like the books. I think it's actually, it might be something in the visual novel companion book or whatever. But that just makes it even worse, because it wasn't like she was just kind of riding in a haze and it kind of just like, you know, flew under the radar. Stephanie Meyer chose to put that in as an extra. That he volunteered to be a Confederate soldier. Why was Jasper volunteering to fight against the emancipation of enslaved people? There's something not right with Stephanie Meyer. There's simply not. So here's another thing. So when you become a vampire, your qualities and personality traits and stuff that you had as a human become amplified, right? That's why Edward can read minds. That's why Alice can see into the future, whatever. So Jasper's thing when he was alive was having super empathy. What? That makes absolutely no sense. Because if you have that much empathy for others, why would you volunteer to join the Confederate Army? Why would you willingly put yourself in any kind of battle arena at all, honestly? Like, that just doesn't make a lot of sense. So I'm supposed to believe that he has super empathy, but only for white people? I mean, yeah, I believe that. That makes a lot of sense to me. I feel like a lot of people who consider themselves empaths probably have a few of those prejudices deep-seated within themselves, you know? Anyway, yeah, fuck Jasper. And it also sucks, because I remember thinking he was like one of the hottest guys on the cast. So, you know. The fact that Alice was just okay with that she was like, she saw in her vision, she was like, Jasper's coming, he's gonna be my boyfriend. And she also had to know that he was a Confederate soldier. So the fact that she was just okay with dating that, white women dating racist neo-Nazis, alt-right people, y'all are just as complicit. I know you think you can change him. When a liberal white girl starts dating an alt-right weirdo, all I see is two alt-right weirdos. And Alice, I'm sorry, you know, like, I was team Alice as well. My guy username was Alice_Cullen_XX360 Bloody Roses. But I have to let you go, Alice. I have to let you go. Also in New Moon, there's like a part where she keeps calling Jacob a dog, and the way she says it, it just sounds like a slur. I'm like, are you calling him like werewolf slurs right now? Something about it, I don't know. It didn't sit right with me. I was like, something smells funny, and it's not the dog. James's plan, it makes absolutely no sense. Why? So he wants to eat Bella, right? Because he finds out, because something in Edward's demeanor makes him think that he's really into Bella and he loves the chase, right? So why doesn't he? I don't know. They try and play it off like the reason they need such an elaborate plan to escape is because James loves the chase. But okay, so James's plan was he's gonna follow Bella, right? And then like he gets thrown off a bit by like the fake trail that the Cullens lay out. And then he's like, oh man, I messed up, whatever. And then he, intercepts Bella at her hometown in Arizona. And he goes to her old ballet studio and acts like he's kidnapped Bella's mom. And like the only way that even worked was because he happened to find footage, like video footage of Bella's mom, like a recording of her voice that he was able to use to lure Bella out to the ballet studio in the first place because her mom wasn't actually there. She was like on vacation with Phil, the baseball playing husband. None of that makes any sense. Like the pieces all had to have fit together so well, and you know what? Let me just move on because I'm getting a headache thinking about that. Another thing I hate, so, Bella comes out to the ballet studio for what? I don't know. So stupid. Like she could have at least told Alice and Jasper. Like it's dumb. Because James can't possibly overpower all of them, right? It's so stupid, so pointless. But anyway, she shows up. He starts throwing her around because he wants to play with her before he eats her, I guess. Then Edward shows up because he's faster than the rest of them. And then they start fighting. And here's actually a fun fact that I read in the J14 magazine while I was in line at the grocery store with my mom in middle school is the guy who played James was like, oh yeah, when they had to do that scene where Edward's like ripping my neck out with his teeth, they had to like put like a honey chicken or something on my neck. And then after that, after we ran out of the honey chicken, they put like cheese, like melted cheese on it. I don't know. It was something weird like that. So anyway, after that, the rest of the Cullens show up, it's more of like a gang up, whatever. The beef that I will always have with this scene and this movie is the fact that so all the rest of the Cullens show up. They overpower James. They're throwing him around, beating him up, ripping him apart, and then burning him alive in the back because that's the only way you can kill a vampire. You rip them apart and then you set their pieces on fire. We can't see any of that. They don't have a single close shot. They don't have a single interspersement of scenes where we can just kind of get a snippet of what they're doing in the back. Alice, Jasper, and Emmett are having the time of their lives in the back, throwing around James's body parts into the fire, into like their little warm, toasty vampire bonfire. And we're stuck in the foreground with Edward sucking on Kristen Stewart's arm like it's a Capri Sun. And he's like, a second grader on a hot summer day in Central California. Like what? And like their facial expressions, I hate looking at them. I've always hated looking at them. They're so bad. They're so cringy. Listen, I respect that Robert Pattinson may be a good actor. I don't know. I still have to decide. Kristen Stewart, I have to give it up. I don't think she's a good actress. I feel like something happened. People were like, oh my God, Kristen Stewart's a good actress. It's just the fact that, Bella's a very bland character. She's a very boring person. That's how she had to play it. But if you look at Kristen Stewart's filmography after this, because what I told you, I was very deep in this Twilight phase. I went and watched Snow White and the Huntsman with her and Chris Hemsworth. Same thing. She was very bland, very boring. She didn't do shit. I think we just have to give it up, y'all. I think Kristen Stewart just can't act. And so because of that, you have like these two people that can't act very well, trying to act out a very heavy, intense scene where like they're both supposed to be in super excruciating pain and also lust and also like bloodlust and desire and all that. And it's awful. It's awful to look at. And then it fades out and then you see Bella in the hospital room. And oh God, this is another terrible scene where Edward's like, I have to leave or something like that. Or like, I can't be with you anymore. And she says like,
Bella, you gotta go to Jacksonville, so I can't hurt you anymore.
What? Are you... No. No. How... I don't even know what you're saying. How... What are you talking about? You want me to go away? I can't... No, I can't just leave you.
I know.
No, you can't. And like with the most straight face ever. It's terrible. It makes me cringe every time and I hate it. I hate this movie, but I love it. Also, okay, just a little bonus round. Bella's prom. First of all, why was their venue so nice? my senior ball, I mean, I guess it's not their senior ball, but still. But actually that makes it worse because my senior ball is supposed to be in a nice venue, isn't it? And this is just like their homecoming or prom or something like that. But it was such a nice venue already. But for my senior ball, we were in a very large room at the public library. I mean, I guess it was technically called the ballroom, but it's not a ballroom. It's just a very large room in the public library. It was all right, I guess, but whatever. The fact that Bella wears Converse with her dress, like giving us a Demi Lovato moment. What was that song that they sang? I don't remember. Maybe I'll put a clip here if I can remember. But yeah, you know what? I was gonna say, oh, I hate that. But also it's like she's got the boot, the boot for her broken foot because she jumped out the window, aka got thrown around by James. So I'll let it slide. Cause it's like, can you imagine walking around with a boot and then like one high heel? Like, please. I feel like all girls should just wear sneakers to ball, right? No, that's not a good idea. Is it? Here's the thing. How about we do a dance where all the guys wear high heels and then all the girls wear sneakers, but like hype beast sneakers. So it's like, okay, yeah, whatever. I've lost the plot. And that's not even getting into like the actual problematic elements about how it, you know, glorifies stalking behaviors, weird possessive behaviors, weird codependent behaviors, because it's like the way that, you know, reading it as a teen, you don't really know what love is, right? I still don't, but I really didn't know as a middle schooler. And I was like, she's 18, she wants to get married to this guy. Her first relationship that she's ever had, her first basically everything, right? And the fact that they've had such a short but intense and emotional experience where she's been in multiple life-threatening situations, he saved her multiple times, but he's also put her in danger himself multiple times, and the fact that they get married right out of high school, and he continues to use sex as like a bargaining tool against her, as in like, I won't have sex with you until we get married, and then I won't have sex with you until we turn to a vampire, and then I won't turn you into a vampire until we get married. It's very weird, very Mormon, very middle America. It's weird. You see this stuff as you get older, right? You see the weirdness, the weird subtext, the weird undertones. Yeah, it's bad. It's all bad. And also the racism, right? Like the fact that Stephanie Meyer literally used like an indigenous tribe of people, the Cullens, as like background setting, supernatural spice flavor for her books without doing any research, which actively contributes to like rampant misinformation around indigenous peoples in America, and like this weird mysticism surrounding them that like they're actually just like a magical race of people, blah blah blah. It's really weird, which is why if you've ever consumed any Twilight content, and I would include this video as consuming Twilight content, I would recommend donating to the Quileute Nation. They actually need some help right now, so I'll link that below. I'll also be donating. I know people are always like, oh, I'll donate the proceeds of this video, like the AdSense of this video to whatever, but I'm just gonna be completely transparent with y'all. I make about like a couple of dollars a video, the AdSense of that, I mean. So I think it would just be more effective for me to just like do like a flat rate of like, I don't know, $20 maybe. I think that, yeah, I mean, that's probably what I can afford right now, but you know, something like that. So, you know, if you want to match me, that'd be cool. $20 from each of you, or even $5, you know, anything helps. I think it'd be really nice to be able to do that. But yeah, so, you know, let me know what your experiences with Twilight were, what you thought of this video.